Afternoon, Muscle Car Corner here at the Muscle Car and Corvette Nationals, and I'm back with Hemi Eddie again, and we're going to talk about this amazing 63 Pontiac Tempest Super Duty AFX. There's only 5 of these cars in existence. This is some of the information about it right here. It's quite an amazing car, and so Hemi Eddie. Good
How you
to see
doing?
again,
Good
sir.
to see you again.
Let's talk about this Pontiac. I know it's a little bit out of your realm, being it's not a Mopar, but you had your hands on this car or had something to do with it, and I just was interested in it. So let's talk about this neat wagon.
So it is probably one of the most bizarre cars that I ever had the opportunity to drive briefly. My one customer, Nick Smith, who I did about 17 or 18 cars for, I was working on a really cool 1960 Ford Fairlane that his vision of that car was, if Ford would have made a super stock car in 1960, this is what it would have looked like. The car has been affectionately called Maybelline because of how big it was.
Really?
Yeah, and that name has still stuck to this day. So we were working on that car, getting it ready to be track worthy, and putting the Bostrom seats in it, and putting aluminum, bolted on seat frames and everything else like that. So it was like the Thunderbolts and like the even like the Dodges that were done with that way. Mm-hmm. So it was our representation. If Ford would have, maybe they would have done this cowl induction hood and everything else like that. Wow. It was trick, plastic window, battery in the trunk underneath the fiberglass spare tire, fake plastic battery up front. A lot of really weird stuff just to move the weight around and to make the car super cool. So I'm working on that with a good friend of mine, Johnny, and Nick Smith calls me and says, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm working on Maybelline." And I go, "Why? What do you want me to be doing?" He goes, "Well, I bought a car in Indy and I need you to go pick it up." He said, "You already got reservations at the Drury Inn? Can you go?" I couldn't say no, so yeah, I went. And this is the car we picked up. It is an aluminum front end Pontiac Tempest wagon, rear independent suspension. You know, the My Cousin Vinny. Yes. One tire goes up on the curb, one tire stays flat, and they don't do that. Well, that's what this car got in it. It's also a rear engine transaxle, so it's got a real long drive shaft, and then the transaxle's in the back of the station wagon.
What a weird design.
Very weird design, but racers did weird things to try things out, and this is one of them. And this car is an incredible car. So basically, when it came to me, Nick wanted all the lettering and everything to be removed off it just so it was white. I knew the guy who restored the car, so I said, "Nick, and in all honesty, let's take it back to him and let's let him do all the touch-up work on it." But probably one of the cool things about when I had to pick it up, I arrived at the Indy Mecum, and I pulled in to pick up the car, which Nick paid pretty good money for it. And the lady wanted to charge me $45 to get in. And I said, "Oh no, I can't put $45 on the expense report for Nick." So back and forth, she went around and around. I said, "Look, I'm going to be 45 minutes. I'm going to pick a car up. I'm driving back to Michigan." So to make a real long story short, we picked the car up. We were leaving. I waved to her. I thanked her very much. And then we drove home with the car. And I got a little bit of chance to drive it around the building. And so that's probably as far as I went on it, other than just making sure it got into the hands of the guy who was going to do the more detailed work on it.
Gotcha. So it is a 421 wagon with a 421 Super Duty, huh?
Yes.
That intake, is that stock?
Yes.
Wow. I have never seen that before.
It is a very bizarre car. I believe this car was one of the cars in the Williams collection. The guy basically, that was his whole life, finding parts and restoring 4 aluminum cars, a Swiss cheese car and everything else like that. All 4 of those cars were auctioned off at one of the Mecum auctions before Nick bought it at another one. They were all going to be sold as a lot, but they never hit reserve. And then the cars, finally, the 4 of them got broken up because the guy unfortunately had passed away and his family was selling his collection. And this was just one of the 4 cars that he had that was, a phenomenal car.
This is just so rare. I thought Arnie Beswick had one of these and raced it.
He probably did.
I wanted to ask him that if he's still here today.
Yes.
Well, we're not going to go into the interior. I can just show you real quick how amazing. I would like to have this thing as a grocery getter. Put your groceries in the back and smoke the tires out down the road.
Well, the problem with the groceries in the back, you'd have to fight room for the
That's what we're just going to
transaxle.
come to. That's why I said that. Well, take a look at this. This is crazy, you know. So the transmission and the clutch and everything is right there.
Yes.
I wonder, did Pontiac come out with this design, or was it the drag racer?
You know what?
I
might be honest. I don't know the answer, but I'm sure it was Pontiac.
Wow. Look down to the correct Delco battery in it. You know, that's neat. Look at the paintwork on the inside. It's just phenomenal. It's an amazing wagon. I'm a wagon guy. I had a 63 330 Mopar wagon, black with a 4-speed, red interior. I put, you know, some work into it, and I just love wagons. So this thing just fits the bill for me. It's strange, and I don't think I've ever seen but a couple of these ever.
Yeah, right.
There's only 5 produced, he said.
And once again, I think the cool thing about me is I had a chance to pick it up, drive it very quickly, and have, you know, a tiny, tiny sliver of part of the history of the car. You know, to be trusted to go and pick out a car up like this and bringing it back to my shop and being a caretaker for it for a couple weeks until it moved on to the guy who originally restored the car and was going to do what Nick wanted done to it.
Gotcha.
You know, you feel quite honored. It's quite humbling when someone trusts you with a car of this rarity, and probably the value is, you know, up in the
crazy
hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
But you know, it was a special relationship Nick had and I. We still today are great friends. We talk to each other. Recently, we helped him get a Viper that was local to Michigan. Went and looked at it for him, and you know, got him all the information. Then when he came up, he bought the car. So those relationships that I formed back in 2006 with Nick still exist today.
That's
and probably
awesome.
will exist well into the future.
That's why your work is impeccable, and everybody wants it. That's why you're backed up 2 years on taking any cars in. You're never gonna have to worry about that, are you? It'll probably be from now on, it's gonna be like that.
You know, I mean, the funny thing is, and you're absolutely right. I met a couple this summer at Carlisle, and they've been looking for someone to do a couple cars for them. And my daughter lived real close to them, so I went to visit her, went up to their house, and they wanted me to do a Hemi Roadrunner. But when I got there, they had a Superbird pulled out in the driveway, and they said, no, we want you to do this one first. So I think she said to her husband that if the car's not out of here by December, we're getting a divorce. But I told her, I said, okay, does it count if we made the deal that it's going to be done, but I might not get it until after the first of the year? That's just as good. I think they agreed on it, hopefully. But I'm probably going to do that one first, and then.
Oh, nice.
It's only a 440 4-barrel Superbird.
It's a U-code.
And I say that kind of funny because it's only a 440 4-barrel Superbird. They have 2 6-pack Superbirds as well that need restored.
Right.
So who knows? Maybe that might be my last customer. But the sad part is all the customers I currently have keep on throwing more stuff my way. So it's trying to figure out how to get it all done.
Well, you know, I've been in the automotive business my whole life, and running dealership collision centers and body shops and service departments. And you know what? It's all about doing the work right. And then when you start building your business and adding people on, then you have to worry about what they're doing. You're small, you've got your guys that help you. You pretty much put the wrench on everything yourself.
Yes.
When you start having other people doing that work, it may not be exactly what you are producing now. And that's hard to deal with. So you got to say, okay, I can only do X amount of cars a year.
Right.
And anything after that, y'all will be on a waiting list. You know, if you want me to personally touch that car,
right.
You know, and that's important. And building a business, it's so hard to rely on people these days.
I have very reliable people. I mean,
that's good.
I have a right-hand man. I have a couple other helpers. My right-hand man is a guy named Harold Black. I have a guy named Tim Costello who helps me. And yes, my wife even helps me.
Really?
She likes sandblasting. And what's nice is, I mean, when we do a car, we literally touch every nut, bolt, fastener, screw, whatever, and it all goes through the whole process to get the right plating and right everything on it. So one of the four of us are touching everything. When it comes to final assembly, when I can do it myself, I'm the one screwing the car together. When there's glass involved or bumpers or something big, then it's usually Harold and I are putting it together.
Sure.
And he's very trustworthy. We've been around each other now probably 10 or 12 years. We know what each other's thinking. We fight like brothers, but it's not fighting. It's just making sure we get the car done and we get it done right. And it's kind of a really great relationship that him and I have, and even with Tim. Tim helps me when I need him in binds or when I need him for big jobs or something like that. He's always there too. And my wife, she likes sandblasting, so she comes on every now and then.
That's
work
funny.
a few hours here, a few hours there, just to make it all come together when it needs to.
You talking about she's got the full hood on with a big blaster?
No.
You're talking about the small machine that you...
Yeah, it's a little cabinet. You put your hands in rubber gloves. And
I'm thinking to myself, what woman would like to sandblast? Because in my early days, I had to do grunt work, and blasting was part of it to get the paint off the frames or whatever we were doing to restore a car. And I hated sandblasting because it goes all down your shirt, down your underwear. You got it in your butt crack. You know, it's just not a good scene.
Well, no, I mean, so yeah, it is a little stand-up self-contained thing with a foot pedal, and you put your gloves in there.
Sure.
You know what? She puts your earbuds in, she listens to music or something like that, and she blasts, you know, how many bags I want her to blast that day, and everything is bagged and labeled, so you take it out of a bag. If it was greasy, you put it in a clean bag and relabel it. If it was just something that we're taking plating off of to replate it, then it can go back in the same bag, not to waste money on, you know, minor little trivial things like that. But she enjoys it, and it allows me to do other things.
Well, she's a keeper if she's out there blasting for you, dude. That's all I gotta tell you. My wife wouldn't do that.
Yeah, the only
she might, but
well, the only unfortunate thing is, you know, I mean, she doesn't like coming to any of these car shows because she's not a car person. And so she doesn't see any of the finished product or get to go to some of the nice places with some of the customers that we get to go to.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. It's just how it's worked out.
Well, I'm wanting to get my wife involved with this a little bit more and help me, you know, do the videos and whatnot, so I can be behind the camera a little bit, you know, in front of the camera rather. So, you know, it's nice to have the wives, you know, at least care enough to help you with what you're doing in life. You know, that's what it's all about, is helping each other to get to a goal, you know, in marriages or in restoring cars, whatever it is, you know.
And she's really learned not to question what's in the dishwasher anymore.
That's
only
funny.
Thing, if I do wiring harnesses, I got to run it twice, one to clean it and one to clean the dishwasher.
You should just install a dishwasher out in your shop. And
Yeah.
that would be a neat conversation piece at that.
Yeah.
What the heck? What are you doing with the dishwasher in your shop, you know?
Well, you know, I possibly could do that. That would probably be the smart thing. But it's just sometimes I can take them home, especially wiring harnesses. I can take them home, put them in there, clean them, and then that gives me a starter. I can take them out, let them dry, especially if I need to put them in the sun. I don't worry about them, and it gets it done.
Quite a trick, man. One of your secrets is out now.
Yeah, probably. You know, I mean, what is it? Necessity is the mother of all inventions. You know, when you have to figure out how to do something, you got to figure out how to do it, and whatever way you can make it so that you're using an original piece over reproduction, you got to do that. You got to go through the process to make it happen.
Well, I tell you what, folks, you just heard it straight from Hemi Eddie's mouth that he's doing wiring harness in his dishwasher at home. So what do y'all think about that? I'd like to hear some comments and feedback on that. I'm sure that there's a lot of other restorers that may just use that idea. Who knows? You know,
I've seen it on Facebook and all that, where people put bigger things in that, and I have too. You know, I mean,
just not greasy stuff. The coffee might not taste good the next morning.
No,
with that
not greasy stuff. Okay, so one more little thing. Before I moved into my shop, and this is several years ago, when I was doing the number 50 Thunderbolt for Nick, I was also doing an ultra wheelbase car for Jim Kramer, the Bud Fauble car. And I was working from my house. Well, I never did two cars at home at the same time. And Nick wanted me to update the number 50 car and do a whole bunch of cleanup on it, kind of what I did with the Bobby Martin car. The chassis and the underneath, the exterior paint was okay. And when I told my wife what was going on, she says, "Why are you asking me?" And I said, "Well, I never did 2 cars at home at the same time." And she says, "Well, what do you need?" I said, "Well, I need the living room, the dining room, and a bedroom. Only clean parts, but I had to stage them front to back so that as I needed them, they'd be right in front." So I have a picture of that, my living room and dining room full of, and I'm not just talking small parts, I'm talking axle housings, hoods, fenders, everything. All clean, mind you. And maybe about the only thing I can say to that is, thank God there's homeowner association rules, because I'd probably violate them pretty harsh. If I'm willing to put clean stuff in living room and dining room, Lord knows what I'd have outside. But no, my outside and inside needs to be clean.
I love that story. That is good stuff. You know, I asked my wife just shortly after marriage, I said, you know, I'm a car guy and a motorcycle guy. I said, I'm always going to have cars in and out of the stables. I said, it's just who I am.
Yep.
And I always have 4 or 5 or 6 cars, you know. And I said, honey, all my dirt bikes, I can't see them. They're down in the warehouse. And I said, I really want to put them inside the house. And she was like, what? There's not going to be any dirt bikes inside this house. I said, well, if I clear one of the rooms out, I see I could just make that a dirt bike room, which would be cool because I've collected these bikes. I used to race in the 70s, and I still got all these bikes, you know, and it's like, I want to see them every day. You know?
And I see no problem with that, because the first Hemi I bought
was in the living room.
No, not in the living room, but it was in the foyer closet.
Get out.
It was on, I mean, the block, the heads, the intake, right there when you opened the closet, and it stayed there for 2 years until I got to build that engine and put it in one of my cars. So the cool thing about that is my daughter, who's 26 now, when she was 2, I think, she had to kiss the Hemi Moe goodnight. And I have a few pictures of her doing that. So
that's funny. She respects the Hemis.
Absolutely.
Man, you raised them up right, don't you?
I tried very hard to.
Well, brother, I appreciate the time with you here again. It's always a good time, and I don't know how we're going to keep on doing this, but we're going to have to find a way. I'm going to have to come to Michigan, I guess.
Yep, maybe for Auto Ram or something like that.
That'd be neat. You know, I haven't touched base in Michigan at all, never even been, and I know you could show me everything we need to do, so maybe we'll try to do that in the future next year and plan something, and I come up and be around Woodward time would be neat. That's always on my birthday, August 12th. It's around August.
It's the third Saturday of August.
Gotcha.
So, you know, it's a 12-mile car show with 1 million people.
That's
crazy.
You
know, I mean, it's a crazy event, but, you know, I worked for Chrysler. I moved away. I got out of the car thing when I was in the Carolinas. I still had 2 cars. When I moved back up here, I went to one Woodward probably in 1998, and that sparked it, and I was right back in everything instantaneously.
Well, we could get into a little bit of trouble out there, and you know, Myron said that he would go as well, you know. So that sounds like a good deal. We need to put that on the map, my man.
I have to try to do that, sir.
Thank you again. I appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate
a great
you
one,
too.
Man.
You keep on doing what you're doing, because it's very important.
Well, that makes me feel good, dude. I really appreciate that. I'm trying to bring it to my subscribers, and I appreciate all my subscribers. Follow me. I need more subscribers, so tell your cousins, tell everybody you can to get on, because we got Hemi Eddie front and center.
Thank you.
Muscle Car Corner out.